Welcome everybody to Building Bellingham, the Pivot series, where we're talking about the silver linings in all of our challenges right now. We get to network with other local business owners and really getting solidified in our local Bellingham business community. Thank you to our guests here for joining me today. Jen, you're up in the upper left. I don't know what the order is on everybody's screen here, but I'd love to start with you here. Could you introduce yourself, what you do?
Sure. I'm Jen Mason, and I own WinkWink, which is a little all ages, not creepy, inclusive sex shop in downtown Bellingham.
Awesome. Awesome. Bottom left in the dark. Who's in the dark there?
Oh, hi. I'm Veronica Stendahl. I own Antler Baking Company. Sorry about the lighting in here.
No worries. Thank you for joining us. And bottom right here is Anne-Marie.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne-Marie. I'm the founder of Bramble soap making supplies. We sell raw materials to manufacture soap. So this is a bar of soap that I teach people how to make using our ingredients.
Yeah, don't buy Irish Spring. Just you can message Anne-Marie directly about why you shouldn't have Irish Spring. Yeah. So Jen, I want to start with you. Tell me a little bit more about, we've talked a little bit about this transition, this from January 1, we kind of have this, our ears perk up a little bit about what is this COVID thing happening overseas? What is the weight of it? What does it mean? And then all of a sudden, bam, it hits us. Tell me a little bit more about your experience over the last, 3 months now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like everybody else had, at first it seemed very far away, this thing happening somewhere else, and then, felt like it was inching closer and closer all the time. I had it on my radar for quite some time. I think I was probably slightly more paranoid than a lot of people were, just by nature. But as it started to get closer to February to March, it seemed like, okay, well, this may impact us, but we'll just, we'll wash our hands more, or we'll sanitize the stuff in the shop more, and it'll be inconvenient but totally doable. And it was sort of that everything felt slow, and then just bam, just really fast. Where we were saying, yeah, I'm sure we'll still be open for a couple more weeks, and then literally 2 days later, just having to shut down. So it was kind of like watching a train coming, and then just all of a sudden it's over you. So
yeah, absolutely. And Veronica, what about you?
Oh man, same feeling really. I was like, okay, this is probably pretty bad. I'm a germaphobe already, and already really scared of always getting sick because I'm, a one-person show almost. And then it came super fast, and it was a really crazy catch-up game, pivoting and evolving and just trying to make things work. It was pretty crazy.
It's kind of day by day. Yeah, absolutely. And Anne-Marie, I know we've talked a little bit about this, but tell me a little bit more about these last 3 months. I've been watching what's been going on in your world. Tell me a little bit more about, everything. What's going on?
It's been a lot. Well, I got really lucky because I took a scuba diving trip to Indonesia in January, and somebody on the boat of just 8 of us lived in China. So they were going home to Beijing. And so the people on the boat were hearing a lot about COVID or coronavirus at the time. And so it was really on my radar, because here this guy is going, and he's going to be going into lockdown basically. And so I got really lucky that way. And then also, of course, I'm totally addicted to Twitter. So when Italy started really falling apart, I was up every morning at 4 a.m. pandemic shopping and pandemic reading, and sending my dad, who is a practicing physician in Olympia, Washington, sending him all the articles and telling him I wanted to order my own ventilator, and did he have enough masks? And my dad was like, you are panicking. This is this is too much. Do not worry about it. The medical system is fine. And then 3 weeks ago, or 3 weeks later after that, he was like, actually, about those masks you wanted to order, did you want to order some for me? And then when he saw, and so then I started becoming his procurement officer. And at that point it was, I had already ordered enough masks for Bramble because I could see what was coming. So then I was diverting masks to his clinic. And then meanwhile, trying to get my mom, who's going through chemotherapy, to safety away from my dad, because she couldn't be living with him while he's seeing active COVID patients. And he had one of the first COVID patients from Thurston County in his clinic. the guy presented with strep throat problems, and he did not qualify for a test because back then, this was only 7 weeks ago or whatever, they were doing much more stringent, you can't get a test. So he didn't qualify for a test. And so, but they swabbed him. So took off his mask, swabbed him, the whole thing. So virus going everywhere. And they swabbed him for strep throat. He tested negative, ended up in the ER 2 days later. And so my dad had one of the very early COVIDs. And what's been interesting to watch, his family practice business is down 40%. Because, look at all three of you. Would any of you want to go into any sort of clinic for any reason right now that wasn't emergency? You're not going in for your pap smears. You're not going in to take care of the weird sty on your eye. You're not going in to ask what the rash is. So his business is down 40%. The only people that are basically coming in are people with COVID symptoms. So that's been really interesting to help take care of my mom and just kind of watch him from afar. And then of course, homeschool my kids. And then Brambleberry has been, interestingly enough, impacted a lot. Supply chain stuff has been really hard for us. We sell essential ingredients. We sell sanitation supplies. We manufacture bulk soap, and we sell 40 different kinds of soap bases. In addition to that, we sell essential ingredients for manufacturing, hand sanitizer. And of course, we're out of all the things and you can't get more. Our orders from December that we were ordering out of China are just showing up now. And so it's been really interesting to, of course, socially distance the entire company. So stagger workers, make sure we don't have any more than 17 people in the building at any time, offer PPE. We are very not efficient right now in the sense that we operate most efficiently with 45 people in our warehouse at any given time. And right now we have 17, and we have 20 hours worth of shifts every single day, 3 hours of which is spent sanitizing and cleaning. So it's been really, it's been a challenge to try and figure out how to get orders out the door, how to keep the supply chain from breaking, and also how to keep our team strong mentally. There's a lot of scared people out there that don't want to go to the store and that don't want to go to work and all of that. So that is the kind of 40,000 foot view on all the things.
What just happened? That was a bomb. That was the mic drop after she gave that up there. And how have you all found, as far as the Bellingham community? I think we're all very plugged in our own ways. And, I'm a transplant. I'm from Seattle. I've been up here for about 12 years, but I found that just being able to connect with people like you has been amazing for encouragement. Just, hey, we're all in this together. How have you all felt through this, as a community, as a business community?
I feel really lucky to have the support of other business owners right now, and to be able to bounce ideas off of people and to commiserate and to celebrate where there have been silver linings and wins. It's been, people don't understand what it's like to own a business. They don't understand all the little decisions that get made. And so it's been nice when something has been worked out to be able to say, hey, we just did this thing that to my customers might look like the easiest thing in the world to add this thing to our website or to shift our business, but actually is a huge behind the scenes lift. And so it's been so wonderful to have the, other business owners, and we're in downtown Bellingham, so we're really connected with downtown, to have those folks around us. And then, also just in general, I have felt like my customers have stepped up so much. We have transitioned to delivery. We're shipping out, but we are primarily doing local deliveries. And so it's been really heartwarming and joyful to feel like our customers remember us. They want to support us. They want us to know that, that they're still there. And so that's just been, I feel so lucky to be a part of a community that values the work that we do and the mission of our shop, and wants to still be a part of what we're doing, even if that looks completely different than it did a month ago.
Absolutely. Veronica, it sounds like you're doing deliveries too. It sounds like everybody's doing deliveries at this point.
Yeah, things have been so crazy in my world. My business is based off of, people coming together and throwing parties and having weddings and going to the market and going out for date nights and getting big slices of cake. And I mean, that really got put on hold for everybody. And I quickly realized, very quickly, that I was going to have to like pivot massively if I wanted to like still be able to help people and like bring cheer and like bring joy and be in a super safe environment as well. And so I have never sold cake online really ever. I do emails and stuff, but I built a whole website from like, that's not my forte. Like I'm not a computer person, and like I had to sit down and like make it work, like build a website, make it easier for people to order online. I decided like to do curbside pickups and then home deliveries, like no contact, so that people could get cake for their families. I like redid my whole menu and ordered for people to get, smaller quantities of cute things and be able to celebrate their birthdays and their anniversaries and, just make them feel better on like a shitty day so I just like pivoted everything, and people have been so supportive. Like my customers have been really supportive. I've had so many people just be so excited that I'm still in business and that they just want to help, and they buy gift cards and tell their friends about me. And that's just super nice. And I've got a lot of amazing business owners in town like you guys, and a bunch of people in my commercial kitchen that are other restaurant owners that are just, in the thick of it with us, and we're all just like trying to do our best. And it is really nice to share those wins with people, or if they're having a bad day, to be able to, try to lift them up a little bit, or be like, it's okay, like we're all in this together, like everybody is going through this rough time. But yeah, I've been really, really happy with the Bellingham community. Everyone's just been so supportive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I've used this metaphor before. It's almost like we're kind of being pushed slowly up to the edge of a cliff where we have to make these decisions. And these are all things that maybe, and I call it the someday maybe list. These are things that we're like, oh yeah, next year I'll build out this feature on my website, or, and all of a sudden, boom, it's here. That thing that was going to happen a year from now is happening this week. And it's happening because you're going to work on it 24 hours a day until it's done. And Jen, I wanted to touch on something that you had said about entrepreneurs that, and I'm a young entrepreneur, so I'm still, and I don't mean that from an age perspective. I mean that from a perspective of being young in the business world. And I hear that a lot too. Well, that decision must be so easy. You work for yourself. You can take this afternoon off, right? You can come mountain biking. You can do these things. We should be doing those things. But I think that we get lost. Some people get lost in how many steps lead into one decision. Whether, for Veronica, it's a decision to change the website, or for Anne Marie, it's a decision to reduce the amount of people that are working in the factory for the warehouse for health reasons. And Anne Marie, you and I have talked about the relationship with the customer and how important that is. And being a local business and not being a national chain or a worldwide Target or Walmart or whatever it is, so much of what you are all doing is very relationship based. How important is that relationship with your customer, whether it's through an online channel like a YouTube channel, or just meeting the people in person, or just spending the time with people to understand your product?
Interesting, because both Veronica and I sell basically a consumable, right? I sell soap, and that's going to last 3 or 4 weeks, and Veronica sells cookies and cake that are going to last for all of 6 minutes after she delivers them. And Jen, I'm really curious about this for you, because you sell vibrators, right? Like, how many vibrators does anybody need? It's not like those things, they don't go bad, right? And so I'm curious about actually Jen's relationship with customers during this process. Like, are people increasing their orders? Are they decreasing? Are you seeing new customers?
Yeah, for us, we have been fairly slammed during this time. It turns out people having a lot of time to spend at home. We're in the right industry for that. And so, I think that there are folks who think, well, you just get one sex toy, but often the first one, then it's a gateway to like, well, now I need this. Well, now I need this thing for this occasion. And so, we are seeing actually a lot of repeat orders. When we're doing deliveries, I'll pull up in front of a house and I'm like, I've been here before. In some houses, I've been there like, surely it must be like roommates, but I've been to the same house like 6 times.
Roommates.
Yeah. So, we're seeing a lot of people who are, I think, maybe using this time to explore, and a lot of people who maybe have partners that they don't live with, and now they're separate and are looking for different toys than what they had before, or are feeling like, okay, it's now solo time instead of partnered time, and so what they're getting at the shop is different. We have seen, for a lot of people, just in general, I think for any business coming to an in-person store, there are barriers to that time and just, getting there before it closes and you're busy. For a sex shop, there's additional barriers for some people to come into a sex shop. It can feel embarrassing or intimidating, or, they are worried they're going to bump into somebody that they know when they're here. So it's been kind of great in a lot of ways, because online we're seeing, I think, a lot of new people that have never shopped with us. And we are, thinking about customer relationships. We're answering questions. My manager and I are answering questions, like literally 24 hours a day, through Facebook Messenger, through our DMs on Instagram, through our email, through our web chat function on our website. We are, people are saying what they're looking for, and we are like asking questions and answering, and here's a product, and then we're going to their house and actually delivering it on the same day. And so in a lot of ways it's been odd, because we're not having that one-on-one connection with our customers, but in many ways I actually feel closer to a lot of them, because people are communicating with us, I think, even more straightforward than they do when they're in the store. And so so I have found this to be a really a challenge, and also this wonderful opportunity for us to build customer relationships, new customer relationships, but also enhance the ones that we already have.
Wow. So, and so much of that, is it because people are feeling more comfortable being able to ask questions from the comfort of their own home? That's what you're feeling?
Yeah, I think that, asking the online, people certainly do come in and they ask a lot of questions here, but I think it's easier for most people in general to type out the thing than to actually say it in person. So we are, we're getting a lot of that. In the store too, you can feel the item. We have everything where we have testers out where people can kind of feel the materials and the motors and that kind of stuff. When you don't have that, you really do have to rely on our staff and our expertise to be able to tell you about how a product might feel, if it will give you the sensation that you're looking for. People can't read the ingredient labels necessarily, so it's a lot of getting into the details of it. So I think that's just been really helpful, and really helpful for our customers, but also for us to learn a little bit more about folks who might feel more timid in this shop, really explaining what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I just wanted to say about your business is that I think it's so amazing that you lead by saying it's not a creepy sex shop. And so it was, my wife and I were kind of laughing, because we'd only been to, I don't know, like a Lover's before, and it was really intimidating. I'm not going to lie. I walked in there, I'm like, oh my goodness, what is that? What is this? Oh my goodness. I'm that guy. And definitely felt incredibly comfortable when we came in there. And anyways, I wanted to just highlight that, because it's not a creepy sex shop is so important. So thanks for sharing that.
I still go into other stores, and even I'm like, I don't know where this goes. So it happens to everybody. But yeah, I think that I've been really lucky that we've had time to establish the kind of the aesthetic of our shop and the vibe of what we do here, because I do think it's made people feel really comfortable literally just messaging us and asking us questions, because they know who we are on the other end. You're not messaging some creepy person, you're messaging me while I'm like watching American Idol next to my daughter.
Yep, absolutely. And Veronica, I have a question for you. So you are located inside the woods I know you have your commercial kitchen as well, but your storefront is in the woods in the Flatiron building. And that is that down on Holly? Is that where that is?
It's on 10 Prospect Street. So like on the corner.
Yeah. Yep. So tell me a little bit more. What has that been like for you? Because I know that Wes with Woods Coffee has kept the drive-through locations open, but I'm sure he's closed down that location. Is that right?
He did, and that happened pretty early on. About the same week that all of this really started going down here, I just had a feeling that like we were on borrowed time. So like 3 days later, it was completely closed down, and it was the right call for sure. Like for them, like no one needs to be going inside there without a drive-through, and I was already on the verge of doing just curbside orders anyways, just for the safety of my staff and myself. So yeah, that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah. And for you, being in the food industry, it's, you know, the whole purpose is for people to gather, right? And that's so challenging. And not that there's other people are gathering for, you know, for Jen's business and Anne Marie's business as well. Maybe some of it's online, maybe some of it's on the store, but food is all about gathering, right? What is that like for you, being a business of gathering and going to kind of just a delivery business? It's a completely different world.
It is so different. Way less stressful actually. So that was kind of crazy.
You said less stressful?
A little less stressful. Now that I've got like the systems kind of down, I'm like, oh, okay. But you know, things change so quickly from like not being able to be at the farmer's market and all of my weddings being put on hold. I do lots of weddings and lots of big catering events, and slowly they all started shifting dates and like moving a little, and then now they're all canceled, or almost all of my weddings have moved to next year with a hypothetical date, or they're all in September and hoping for the best. And so that's been really hard, and I feel for those people. Like, I mean, you're just trying to like plan a really amazing event, and you know, you have to put it on hold, and you know, getting married, that's really hard for people. So like my heart goes out to people this year, and it's, you know, hard for me because we're not doing weddings at the moment. We're not doing farmers market. We're just doing some deliveries.
Yeah, it's a challenging transition for sure. And Anne Marie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did
Say
you
one more
lay
time.
Veronica?
What?
Did you have to lay anybody off?
I had to put both of my girls, I kept them on as long as I could. And then once the store like completely closed, yeah, they're on unemployment right now.
Jen, what about you? Did you have to lay anybody off?
Yeah, my husband and I have been running the business basically we've been running the deliveries ourselves. My manager has been still doing the online communications with people, which has been a lot. But I have like 2.5 staff, and my manager's been kind of part-time. My manager is starting. We actually got our PPP grants, our loan today. Like the money is in my bank account.
Nice.
So she's actually starting, and she's taking over Friday through Sunday deliveries starting tomorrow, which I'm so excited about. Doing deliveries 7 days a week is a lot. So, but you know, when the shop opens back up, you know, we have such a tiny staff. It's like if we ever open back up, we'll need all of our staff again, and we're committed to figuring out a way that we can work them in this new normal. So.
And then Veronica, the reason I was asking is because you said, well, you know, it's been a little more simple, right? And I was kind of like, gosh, are you going to go back and ramp up? Are you going to do weddings and farmers markets and Flatatron building and all that all over again? Or are you?
Probably, because I say that now, and then I'm just one of those people that just wants to do it all. So yeah. And probably more.
Yeah. One of the things we're talking about at Brambleberry, because we are, you know, obviously Washington, so we've been essential the whole time. We went through the hoops to the Office of Emergency Management to get a license from the governor to operate as an essential business. And we've been essential the whole time, but we're looking at, well, gosh, we are going to reopen. We'll probably reopen, the state will reopen closer to the 14th or 16th or 18th, but there'll be new social distancing guidelines. So if my labor costs are up 30%, but I'm 50% less effective, and now I'm buying masks for every single person and gloves for every single person, and spending 3 hours out of every 20 disinfecting, and my supply chain is more expensive, what does the new normal look like going forward in terms of profit, in terms of longevity for the business? How do you scale when you can only put a person every 10 feet? all of those things is what we're starting to think about now, and in our heads as we think about, well, this is not this isn't we don't open up and life goes back to normal. We don't have any sort of vaccine, and even when we get a vaccine, it's a 12 to 18 month, 24 months to get the entire population vaccinated, and that assumes people are going to vaccinate. I mean, look how long it took to eradicate polio, right? And so we're kind of trying to think of what the new normal actually looks like when the state reopens, and how we are going to handle that now that we've gotten through this kind of initial, oh my gosh, wow, this is hard and this is scary and every day is something new. Now we're trying to be a little more proactive and think about how we get out of our defensive crouch and move into at least a maintenance kind of, how are we inching forward little by little.
And Anne-Marie, do you think that that has to do with the scale of the business? Do you think that having, almost 100 employees versus having 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, do you think that has a lot to do with your agility when it comes to the crouch to the spring motion after this all gets lifted?
I think it's a couple things, and I've been through 3 recessions at this point. This will be potentially a depression, but so I've been through this a little bit. I am in the past. I am very fortunate and very lucky that those sort of the kind of mental gymnastics that takes, that sort of strategy planning and that scenario planning and all of that has been baked in, because you're not Veronica and Jen can speak to this. You can speak to it, right? You're not an entrepreneur that continues to like roll with the punches and get up every single day and want to do really cool things without getting slapped upside the head, like at least once a week, if not twice a week. And so while the decisions we've all made to get to the points where we're at right now, while those decisions are smaller than the decisions we're having to make now and to move into the future, there's still a version of pivot. There's still a version of flex. There's still a version of trying to figure out what's next. That didn't work. Where am I going to go from here? It's still a matter of running the scenarios. Jen, I'm sure you've run a scenario where you only sold 5 vibrators in a week versus 20 vibrators in a week or whatever. Veronica, how many, I'm sure you run a gazillion scenarios, like looking at different wedding cake projections, that kind of thing. So this is just another form of it. It's just bigger, and the stakes are so much higher this time. They're so much higher this time.
Yeah. And how do you use those experiences? Maybe, Jen or Veronica or myself or Anne-Marie, we all have different variations or different places on this spectrum of having been through. I haven't been through a recession as a business owner. I haven't. And I don't know what that's like. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe that means that I'm more flexible at this. I have no idea what that means. And so I guess the question then would be, how do you use these experiences or other people's experiences to forecast? Were you forecasting before this happened? Or was this completely unexpected?
We were forecasting before it happened because we could see our supply chains being interrupted back in January. And so we went through, and honestly, the supply chain disruption has been worse than anything we forecasted. By far, so much worse than anything we forecasted. I don't think the average public understands the supply chain disruptions because it doesn't really affect them. They ran out of toilet paper, and then they ran out of tweezers, and then they ran out of nail clippers, and but all those things eventually sort of came back. But it's been, I was on a Zoom call the other day with some of Salesforce, which is a selling platform for online, some of their top e-commerce customers. And there was 8 of us on the call, and one of them makes sanitizing wipes. And he's typically a 10-day turnaround. And he's now telling his biggest customers that he's not going to fill their orders till September. You guys know, that's a 5-month turnaround. So the supply chain disruption was something that we did not anticipate, but we were forecasting, and we were forecasting what sales would do. We were forecasting what products would be sold. We did not anticipate the problem staffing. We did not anticipate competing with the federal government for unemployment wages. That's been a challenge, right? Because the federal government's paying really well right now for you to stay home. They're trying really hard to incentivize people to stay home for good reason. But what do you do when you are an essential company that does need to stay open? How do you get your employees to come to work? So these are some of the things we didn't scenario right correctly, and we certainly didn't forecast out correctly. So there's still a lot of mistakes were made in that whole planning and ramp up period.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Anne Marie, you run a very large business, and for Jen and Veronica and I, we're running a smaller business. And how important is agility? I know you're very agile for a larger business, but how, Veronica and Jen, how important is it for you right now, especially during these times, to be able to be agile?
Hugely, it's everything. I mean, I think it's, we had a website on our someday maybe list, was one of my goals for this year was to better utilize our website. We'd always been doing online sales, but not a ton of them, partly by design because we just didn't have the system, like a sustainable way to actually maintain that. But when it became evident, I think online sales are going to be a really important thing coming up here soon. I mean, it was like redesigning my whole website myself, after my daughter's gone to bed in like 2 days, and getting all of our, just all of a sudden you're like, now I'm a photographer and a web designer, and, just being able to flip that around. I'd said the week before we closed, somebody said, what if you did deliveries? And I was like, no way, that sounds unsafe. And people are going to send sex toys to their friends as jokes, which I'm still surprised no one's done.
Hey, as long as they pay for them, whatever.
I know, I was like, I'll deliver it to anyone who pays. But, and I said, no way that I'll do that. And then by the next week, I'm like, hey, everyone, we do deliveries. And here's the whole system for how we do that. I mean, being able to read day by day, I think, all you can really do as a business owner ever is like plan, execute, measure, adapt. Like you're just kind of in a constant state of that. Right now, it's very hard to plan because you don't know like federally, state-wise what's going to be happening. You also just don't know the feel of what's going to happen. I know how people feel, or what I think they feel today. Tomorrow, when Inslee inevitably extends the order, how are people going to feel? How does that impact my business? When the doors open to the shop, whenever that happens, are people actually going to feel like they want to come in and shop? And so constantly sort of responding and being nimble to what is happening, and being able to make the best of this situation. And so I think that I feel grateful for, I really actually love working under pressure. Anyone who's ever worked with me knows that the routine stuff is like not where I excel. And so this has been, a test in agility and being able to execute things really quick and then decide what works and doesn't work, and adapt. So.
And don't call me an economist here. I'm not a formal economist by any means, but if quarantine goes on for 2 more weeks, I think that we're talking to 3 of the best possible people we could, because so anybody that's watching this, cake, sex toys, and soap, that's what you need. Pretty simple. So that's my prediction, in case you were wondering what my prediction was. Veronica, what about you? Being agile, but also being reliant on the space with somebody like Wes having Woods Coffee there. Tell me about that and agility.
I was just so thankful that they trust me, and it's also like partially my space. So I'm still able to go in and just do curbside, like nobody else is in there. So that's been really great. My commercial kitchen is still open, and there's only a few other businesses operating out of there at the moment. So I'm basically in there by myself, which is ideal, just so I can just, scrub everything down and like super clean. My hands are like falling apart. I have like so much bleach on them, they're literally falling apart.
And I have a solution for you.
More soap, more lotions. But yeah, 100%. I feel like Jen, you and I like have so much in common right now. Everything you said was just like, yes, 100. I've done that. I've been there, building the website in like 2 days, like trying to like get your email list together, like figure out your Instagram, like talk to your customers, like realign what you're doing, start deliveries. I had to let go of my 2 girls at the moment, and so I went back to doing like everything myself, which means like you're the one taking all the orders, you're the one answering questions, you're the one doing all your grocery shopping now. I'm baking 12 hours a day, I'm just a crazy person, but I love it. And it makes you just remember what you love about everything. And the funny part is that I just had ankle surgery and was just coming back from it the week that this happened. And so I'm like even more thankful that I'm like back and like able to do things and like be able to walk again and be able to feed people cake. Like it's so crazy.
You start focusing on the little pieces, you know, personal life and in your business. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about mindset. I think this is a group of steel trap mindseted folks here, but how do you maintain a positive mindset and a giving mindset when, like Anne-Marie's talking about, scaling back, you know, projecting what it's going to look like to run a smaller profit margin? How do we maintain that giving mentality, whether it's giving, you know, knowledge, giving money, being involved in our community? How do we double down on that right now to strengthen our community?
Well, I think that kind of mindset stuff starts with habits and routine. I think as entrepreneurs, our number one job is to keep our own psychology strong and healthy. So whether that means, and for me, I have like this checklist framework of all the things that I need to do every single day in order to maintain a high level of energy and keep a really genuinely good outlook inside and out, not just on the outside. And you know, it's everything. It's silly things, right? Just like sleeping enough and working out every day. But it also means having a strong network of people around me that I can call on when I'm struggling, and even just as like an actual paid friend, aka counselor, that I can FaceTime with if I really need some professional support. So I think that maintaining a mindset comes from having a strategy and a system every day that you follow, that routine. So like right now I'm dressed because I did an Ask Anne-Marie, so I'm dressed a little more casually, but every day I get up and I work out and I get in my CEO wear. So like I'm in my house wearing like full on dresses just for my Zoom calls, because that is one of the things that helps keep me mentally strong. And what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for obviously everybody else, but I do think the right mindset comes from doing the right actions, which comes from having the right checklist set of routine stuff that you're doing pretty much day in and day out. And sometimes, I mean, I don't want to do it all the time, but I know what's going to happen if I don't. And the reality is my family, my community, and keeping 100 people employed is important enough that I'm going to make the really pain in the rear short-term choice to do the right thing so that long-term, all of that stays and maintains.
So you're talking about beyond, I mean, we're not even talking about our businesses. We're talking about at the core, making sure that we are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, all of the above, grounded in a constant, whatever that is that's our constant, whether it's running, writing, singing, whatever it is that's that thing. And it sounds like that all of those things add up for you. And for Jen and Veronica, what are some constants in your life that you can go back to so you can stay grounded through all of this? Because Anne-Marie's got her, I've known this from day one. She's got her schedule, she's got the workout, she's got the, you know, nutrition, all of the above. Tell me about you. Tell me about what your constant is.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm like a huge list maker and planner, and my day goes a whole lot better if I actually take care of myself. And so I'm the same way. I'm like up at 5 or 4, and depending, and I do my workout, and I make a gratitude list, and then I make like a whole list for the day, and I have a coffee, and I eat a snack, and then, you know, I go on and do all of the other things I have to do for my business, and then I make sure I come home and I like detach from my phone. So for a little bit, like.
Say that one more time, really loud. Did you say detach from your phone? Okay, it's a mantra. I'm gonna go say that 100 times before I go to bed.
Because it's really hard for me. I'm like, it's so hard. I get drawn in so fast. All of a sudden I'm on Instagram and I don't even know how I got there. Like, no idea. So I just like hide my phone for a little while, like take a bath and like relax and like watch some like bad TV, and it's better. It's good.
Just to clarify, what's bad TV? I hope my wife is watching this.
I don't know, like, well, my husband says it's bad TV. I think it's great, but like, I don't know, The Bachelor. Right now I'm like restarting up with the Kardashians.
Bad. Yeah, all bad. All bad. Yeah. No, okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Jen, what about you? What's your constant? What's your steadfast constant?
You know, I have some amount. I'm not a routine and checklist person necessarily. You know, I have been finding during this time it's been important for me to like put real clothes on every single day, even if I don't think anyone's gonna see me. Like, you know, I have to and get to come down to the shop every single day and pack up packages, and then you know, about 50% of the time I'm doing deliveries, or my husband takes them. But I found when I come down to the shop, put clothes on like you're going to work. It can be so tempting to just end up in, you know, leggings and dirty sweatshirts all the time, but I do feel better when I get dressed and keep some semblance of a routine. But you know, my constant is kind of not having a constant in some ways. My sort of life, the way I live my life is, you know, move towards things that make you feel good and move away from things that don't. And obviously there are some things that don't make you feel good that you just have to do, and so you get those done. You don't wait for the time that you know, procrastination, it's like waiting until you think that there's a time that you'll want to do a task that you'll never want to do. So I just try to get things done that I don't like. But I really try to ask myself every day and throughout the day, you know, what do I really need right now? And is that wearing my comfortable fuzzy bathrobe and working from bed, or is it getting done and going down to the shop? Is it talking to my mom a couple times a day? Is it going for a run by myself? You know, for me, what grounds me changes, and I try to be responsive to what that looks like. I'm a runner, so some days that's running 15 miles and, you know, doing long distance running. I also haven't run since Sunday because I don't know, it just didn't fit for these days. And so I try to have grace for myself when what I think should be my routine isn't, and not shoulding myself into things that don't work for me just because they did yesterday. So, you know, I'm big, I should surprise no one, I'm big on pleasure and prioritizing pleasure. And so, and just all different types of pleasure. And so for me, another grounding thing is just asking myself what would make me feel really good right now, and not just like zoned out and not detached, and not that I can like numb myself, but like what would actually feel good for me, and then giving myself that thing. So that's a lot of what keeps me in a good mindset is prioritizing pleasure and not treating it like it's an indulgence I have to earn.
Absolutely. And you talked about a little bit about grace. I mean, that's so important right now. I mean, we're dealing with people, like we may be really rooted in with our constant, with our habits, with our checklists, with all of these things, or lack of a checklist, whatever it may be. We might be rooted into those things, but there's a lot of people that aren't. And so talk to me a little bit more about how important it is to have grace for not only ourselves, especially with when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, or you're a high achiever, you're really trying to push, to keep on going, to keep on growing. But then some days, I mean, I don't know about you all, but I've found myself saying, it's 3:30. You've worked your ass off this week. Go mountain biking. Reward yourself. And I don't do that enough. And so how have you found grace, and how have you given other people grace in our community?
I mean, I feel like there's, you know, I work in an industry in an industry that's really based around the shoulds and the shames. And so I do a lot of kind of deconstructing what we beat ourselves up over that we don't need to, or feel bad about that we have no reason to feel bad about. I would say that sex in general is a huge part of kind of the sex culture in the US is feeling guilty and bad. And so I take that kind of mindset to everything else and say, do I actually need to feel bad about this? You know, if I tried something for my business and it didn't work, and I really thought it was going to, and it didn't, do I have to feel bad about that? Or can I just change it and do something different? You know, I think that we don't stop to ask ourselves very often, do I need to feel bad about that thing? Do I actually need to? You know, is it serving a purpose, or can I just let that go and change the way I do things? Can I be accountable and do it different next time? And so I really try and work that way. And grace for other people right now, especially for those of us who are quarantined with our families, is is the whole thing. And recognizing that, you know, I am experiencing my day in one way. The people I live with are experiencing their days in a whole other way, in ways that I may not know about. And it's okay to be snippy and short and not always present our best selves. And that's just kind of part of being human. You know, we're all very human, I think, at this point in time. And so I just try to remember that being human looks lots of different ways and sometimes very unattractive ways. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just another plug, if you're feeling a little bit snippy because you're quarantined, go on winkwink.com, order a cake, and then get some soap. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. To kind of wrap everything up, what message would you like to give your community, your customers, your peers who are watching this or may watch this? And Anne-Marie, maybe we can start with you, and then on my screen it goes Anne-Marie, Veronica, Jen there.
Well, in terms of our community and just the other entrepreneurs in this community, I was just talking to Professor Gregory Bunch yesterday from Chicago Booth School of Business, and he was talking to me about his theory of entrepreneurship. And one of the things he said that really resonated with me was being an entrepreneur is noble. And wow, yes, it is. It is hard and it is noble. And when I look at what it's going to take to recreate our community, to rebuild our community, because right now 32% of Whatcom County is unemployed as of today, 32%.
Wow.
So when I look at what it's going to take to rebuild our community, it's jobs. It is job creators. It is the people that take something and create something out of nothing, create it out of nothing more than an idea and a lot of hard work and very few resources. And so entrepreneurs in this community and all the communities all across America are going to be more important than ever as we start to rebuild and remake the economy.
I love that. It is noble. Veronica, what about you?
Wow. Yeah. I just want to say, like, thank you to the community. And I've been trying really hard, even though I'm so small and there's just normally just one of me. But I'm trying to help, like, try to figure out other ways to help other entrepreneurs that are, like, struggling right now in this time. And I came up with a few different partnership ideas that I just launched last week, with Pretty Penny Clothing. I've been trying to just buy certain products from other people that I know are having a hard time and put together some gift boxes that are hopefully cheer other people up in town that are pretty reasonable pricing. And that's just one way I've been trying to help other entrepreneurs stick together, is just try to come up with some of these little combo boxes. And I just wanted to say thank you to the community for all the support. And if you guys need any cake from Antler, let me know.
And just to kind of tie into that, each one of these awesome people on this show will have all their information below linked. It'll be all over the YouTube videos. It will be hard to not be able to find any one of these awesome ladies here. So, Jen, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my message for the community is something I've been thinking about a lot is, pleasure and intimacy in all of their different forms are really important to the human experience and feeling alive and like your life is worthwhile. And, being seen and felt and heard is so important. And we're at a time where we specifically cannot be seen and felt and heard. And I think that there's a lot of people struggling with that, and that makes a lot of sense. A lot of us just want to hug our moms and hug everyone, and we can't. And that is real. The feelings that are coming from that are really real. And just encouraging people to find ways to create pleasure and intimacy right now in the ways that we can, whether or not that's connecting over Zoom or connecting with yourself in something from the shop. That pleasure and intimacy are still important, and that we can find new ways of doing that in this time where they've been kind of taken from us. So,
absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you all sharing those messages. I mean, it's hard sometimes when your head's down and you're grinding, you're in the business, to be able to give that message, continue to remind people of what your message is. So thank you for sharing that. And just a quick reminder, everybody can find all of the links to each one of these lovely ladies' websites, Instagrams, Facebooks, and if you have any questions, you can message me or directly message any of these awesome awesome business owners on any questions. So if anyone has any questions from this episode, are you guys open to having someone reach out to you and ask you a question?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate y'all joining me today on the Building Bellingham Pivot Series. Thank you so much for your insight, just your smiles. They're uplifting, inspiring. I appreciate you all. And thank you for contributing to this series.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Adios.
Adios.